it's been hard to find anybody who is skeptical of the Houston Texans going into this season outside of on our very own Twitch channel.
Yeah, and if the skepticism is almost like, yeah, they're going to make the playoffs. They probably can get to the AFC Championship game. I don't think they can get to the Super Bowl this year. Like that feels like the skepticism is they can go farther than they've ever gone as a franchise. They just can't go the distance.
It's more, I'm not sure they're ready to beat the Chiefs, but I do think they're good.
And they can beat everyone else. So like it's very limited skepticism at this point for the Houston Texans. People believe. Like the people are buyers. When you look at whether it's like Pro Football Focus and everything they're saying about where the Texans rank in terms of duos and offensive line and quarterback. Chris Sims just put out his top 40 quarterback list that he does every year. He's got CJ at number 7. And then you hear people talk about the team, and it's like they can go far into the playoffs. They're going to win the division, even with a tough schedule. Like, they're going to be just fine. They've pushed all the right buttons. Like, it just seems like they are the talk of the town across the NFL this year.
Yeah, they are the talk of the league. They are everyone's sweetheart, darlings, not even dark horse anymore. I think they're way too out in the sunlight for anybody to say, yeah, they're my sneaky pick this year. No, everyone's picking them. And this article that Dunn writes at his Go Long Substack, golongtd.com, has this as a headline: Rat poison, smiles, bullets dodged. Why this Texans hype feels real. No AFC team will generate buzz up to week 1 quite like these Houston Texans. Teams in the past have succumbed to the burden of Super Bowl expectations. This group, however, has the right mix. And throughout the article, the theme rat poison is brought up a lot. I smell a rat, to quote one Jack Nicholson in the movie The Departed.
Great movie.
The rat poison is trying to get all the rats here, I guess. And if you think about rat poison, you got to start with Nick Saban, Joe. I don't know how familiar you are with Nick Saban's.
Yeah, I was actually like, when I saw it, I was like, oh, did Nick Saban show up to Texans practice?
It's a good question because they do have some Alabama players. They have, obviously, Will Anderson, but Christian Harris, Henry To'oTo'o, John Mechie, who played there recently. D'Amico Ryans is an Alabama guy, didn't play for Nick Saban. But if you think about rat poison, you're just going to think about a bunch of random Nick Saban rants about his team being praised generally after winning a game 42-7.
You know, I was talking about rat poison last year when we played this game. Nobody would listen. Players wouldn't listen. You all didn't listen. They had lost the week before. We were big favorites. It was like no big deal. Just show up for this game, go play the next game. And I don't get affected by it because I don't listen to you all. I really don't have any interest in what anybody thinks about any of this stuff. I do have an interest in how it affects and impacts the players on our team. And I think it does. And I think they have to show maturity in how they manage it and know that external opinion, external noise, whatever you want to call it, rat poison, whatever it is, absolutely has nothing to do with the outcome of the game.
So that's Nick Saban talking about rat poison and how he's always trying to make sure his players aren't feeling themselves too much. I feel, Joe, though, that that's going to be tough for the Texans going into this year. I'm trying to think of a team that has been hyped on this level with a second-year quarterback, second-year head coach, and all of the players they added this offseason getting this kind of hype. Done in this article mentions the 2019 Cleveland Browns with Baker Mayfield, with the trade for Odell Beckham Jr., with some of the players they had on the defensive side of things, and obviously that one exploded in their face. But there's a lot. And you think of C.J. Stroud as better than Baker Mayfield. You definitely think of D'Amico Ryans as better than the Browns head coach, Freddie Kitchens, going into that year. Whether that's actually true or not, we will see in year number 2. But for all of the good things that are being said about them, I do feel like they are merited.
I agree. Like they are, but it is still a lot, and there is still like what Nick Saban is really talking about is just not letting this inflate your ego and think that everything's going to be a walk in the park. And for college kids, I understand why that's a really important message that you want to send to your players, because they're young kids. Like they've never gone through some of the successes that they're going through at Alabama. Hell, at Alabama, at one point, if you just went to Alabama and stayed there for 4 years, you won a national championship. And that was it was like a 12-year period. If you just stayed for 4 years, at some point in your window, you were on a national championship team. The Texans are not that. And that's where I think there is a little, the big difference is they haven't really accomplished anything yet. It reminds me, I was trying to think of, I like the Browns example. I was thinking more as I was reading it back to just the year before, I guess the same year, the Ravens. So because Lamar Jackson takes over, halfway through his rookie year. Mm-hmm. And the next year, the Ravens lost 2 games. And then they lost 28-12 in the first round of the playoffs to the Tennessee Titans. And Lamar Jackson should have been drafted higher. Hype's all here. Better than Joe Flacco right away. Keys to the kingdom. Here come the Ravens. And look what's happened. They haven't really accomplished anything.
I'm not going to go that far. I mean, they've been very good.
They have been. But if C.J. Stroud and the Texans are what Lamar and the Ravens are, you wouldn't be disappointed? 2 playoff wins?
I'd be disappointed after a while. I mean, Jackson has won 2 MVPs. That year where they went 14-2 and where Lamar Jackson basically just took the MVP trophy away from Russell Wilson in a Ravens-Seahawks game, ironically, and just actually kept running with it the rest of the year. Yeah. That season was impressive. They just got bullied by the Titans in that divisional playoff game and go one and done. I mean, they were impressive up until that AFC Championship game, and they still hung around. Lamar Jackson just played very poorly there. They could have been in the Super Bowl if a couple of things go their way in that game. I'm not going to say that entire stretch is disappointing. Would I be disappointed if there's a lot of near misses for the Texans? Sure, but I think any near miss right now would be further than they've gone before, 100%. Whether it's expectations in the playoffs that they actually have going into them, where the Ravens did have in 2019, or this year where, everyone's a little bit skeptical, but they beat the hell out of the Texans in the divisional playoffs. And then, I mean, it wasn't the defense's fault that they lost to Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship game.
Do you think at some point that the Texans hype, but just because we still have so much time, less than 90 days until the start of the NFL season, at some point this is all it's gonna flip? Like you're going to see the media is going to kind of catch on to this trend of how hyped up the Texans are, and it's going to then become kind of trendy to see the national media say, hold up, they're probably not going to win the division.
I don't think it's going to flip, but I do think that will be the zag that 3 different people have on all the networks.
The training camp zag for all the first take shows, for all the Speak for Your Pizzas.
Yeah, July, August, where they have to make all the predictions. And I've said it before, where the predictions, there's going to be a ton of Texans logos on the graphics. But then the 3 people at each of the companies that don't do it, they're going to be like, I mean, what'd they really prove? They'll just do the devil's advocate argument where they take the brave stance of picking either Patrick Mahomes or the 2-time MVP, Lamar Jackson, or Joe Burrow. There's really no bad options, but they'll frame it as I know who's been disrespected this offseason, the Cincinnati Bengals. And it's not really. No one's really talked about them. I wouldn't say they got disrespected.
You're going to see panels on television in which people are going to pick the Texans to miss the playoffs, and then the other half is going to pick them to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I think, yes, that's
where we're really headed right now.
That's what's going to happen.
So I want you guys to both put your thinking caps on, and I'm going to put mine on as well. Up next, who is going to be the first person nationally and hell, locally, maybe even here at ESPN 97.5 and 92.5 to say, these guys, frauds? Who's going to be first? Because no one's done it. There's so much rat poison out there.
I love this as an exercise.
This house is fumigated. We cannot walk through it. There is so much of this, I don't know, like ecstasy caliber rat poison in there, the good kind of rat poison.
You guys gave us a lot of really positive rat poison. The rat poison that you usually give us is usually fatal. But the rat poison that you put out there this week was yummy.
Oh my God. I mean, they're laughing like a bunch of people cheering for Kim Jong-un at a rally.
Good example. Wonder why.
That's a lot of rat poison for Nick Saban right there. Nick Saban as a stand-up comic, that's rat poison.
That's why I left it in, is because that's a 10 out of 10 media laugh.
Yeah.
That was like a laugh track. Like,
that laugh is literally like you can get us all fired if we don't laugh at your joke.
Yeah, that was great laughing. Good job by the Alabama media.
So the question I asked on the other side was this. There's a lot of rat poison for the Houston Texans right now. And check out Tyler's article at his Go Long Substack. Who's going to be the first to zag? Who's going to be the first to turn? On the Twitch from Todd the Show, seems like all local hosts are in a collective homer coma at the moment. I think John will turn first. King of all Twitches says, I'd actually have respect for one CJ. Can't say that. Here locally to have concerns about the upcoming season.
I wish they could just use their ears. Like, does the audio not work on the Twitch?
Why is that?
Like when we say we're not confident that they're going to win the division this year because of how tough their schedule is.
I think we have both said that. We're not 100% confident. We are excited about this season, but the schedule is going to be really tough. And the Colts did nearly sweep him last year.
Like we acknowledge that all the time. Like,
I mean, Gardner Minshew was so bad in that game, and yet it was so close. Just a fourth down conversion away from the Colts potentially marching down the field. And weirdly, they used their third string running back on that play. I still, for the life of me, do not understand why Jonathan Taylor, who was injured at that moment in the game, but used the entirety of that drive, gets taken off the field on the most important play of the season.
I feel like this show, more than at least any at this station and any I've heard, brings up if one game goes differently, like 75% of the hype just goes away immediately. It's like 75% of the hype that we've had, they turn into the actual dark horse, where people think of them the same way, but now it's, well, they made the playoffs. They won the division. They won a playoff game. Now they're at a higher level where if they had just lost that game and were a good 9-8 team, they would have been 9-8, right? 9-8 team that missed the playoffs, and it's just like, oh, watch out. They're next. That's where it would have been if Gardner Minshew was a good quarterback.
I think I do. Like, I'm not going to back down from my belief that they're going to win a Super Bowl, I believe, with C.J. Stroud in his rookie contract. It doesn't mean it has to happen this year. Like there is still room to grow for this football team, for this quarterback.
You've given yourself a big window for this take.
It is.
Backpedaling.
It's a normal take. I mean, it's not super spicy.
Kamari Lassiter would be proud about that backpedal.
My answer is Dan Orlovsky, though.
Ooh.
Just because, not that he's a CJ hater, he loves Anthony Richardson. So
same guy who just put himself under for a tattoo, 7 hours. Shorter than Dak Prescott's 11 hours for a leg tattoo for what it's worth, but also he's not throwing at OTA.
There also was 4 guys working on the tattoo at once instead of 1. So, depends.
He's comfortable with a lot of guys on him.
Interesting.
That's why he can't finish a game.
He is a Florida Gator. Sorry, Paul, that was mean.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. I just know you like Florida.
You were trying to say Florida Gator? Like that would have been the joke. Inappropriate still.
I just knew you're a Florida
Try to
fan,
play the laugh track from the Nick Saban thing?
No, it's okay. I'm not your boss in that, really.
Good one, Joe.
I think it'll be Orlovsky, where I don't know if he'll call them frauds, but I think he'll be the one that will be leading the charge that the Colts are going to win the division, not the Texans this year, because of how much he loves Anthony Richardson.
That could be it. And yeah, there's certainly a little bit of an Indianapolis bias there. I bet Pat McAfee on that same front, certainly a candidate to zag against the Texans.
I don't even count him.
Yeah, because he's a Colt, right? Like that's where it's different from him.
Maybe this is an insult to Pat McAfee. I don't really consider him like an analyst, really. I just consider him like a host of a show. Like he just has a podcast. that just is on ESPN.
Yeah, he's no different than like Big Cat.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. Like he's not like Dan Orlovsky will put up a play and then draw circles on it, and like there's like a level of football seriousness that Dan Orlovsky has or Ryan Clark has, and like Pat McAfee will sometimes bring up a football thing and then just ask one of his rando producers a question. Like I don't think he's I don't know.
From the 281 nomination at ESPN 97.5 and 92.5 on YouTube at ESPN Houston for the first 97.5, 92.5 person to zag on the Texans. Dell will be the first, but he won't do it on the John and Lance show. He'll do it on his own show.
Yeah, he'll save it. He'll save it.
I mean, that's how he should do it.
That is how we should do it.
Yeah, save it for the Del Ola show. Don't waste it on John and Lance. Come on, save it for yourself.
Yeah, I think Dell and one of the Bs, I think, are the.
I mean, I was just gonna say both the Bs.
I think
mean,
Joel.
They still bring up the trade.
I think Jeremy more than Joel.
I think Joel more than Jeremy.
Wow.
I think Joel more than Jeremy.
Embrace debate.
No, hang on. Here's why. I feel like, and I know Joel very well, I think. Maybe not as well as Joe does, but I know that there was a time where I'm pretty sure Joel was not a fan of the Houston Texans because the Rockets used to be on 610, and things did not end so great for the Rockets on 610 from what I understand, because obviously, I think 610 just broke up with them. I remember because I mean, it sucked for me because I was the one who was working with Joel every single night for Rockets games. I was doing the highlights for him. So I'm wondering if Joel would be the first. I'm going to offer my two national nominations. Number one, Robert Griffin III.
Oh, yeah.
But here's why.
It's a good one.
Because RG3 had a great rookie year, and then everything was a disaster after that. Partly due to injury, sure. But I bet RG3 will bring up his own personal experience and somehow try to imply that he still can play. And the other one, and I think this would just be a smart play by him, and he's a smart guy. I think he was actually on 610 the other day. Nick Wright.
I wrote down Nick Wright.
Here's why with Nick. One, he's the Chiefs guy, and it is his job to roast everybody else from the top of the mountain. But two, he knows how to get online engagement, and he has a big following because of his time here. So I think that those two factors are going to lead to a August bomb of Nick saying the Texans don't make the playoffs.
You mentioned he's a Chiefs guy, and he is a Chiefs fan, and he's been very loud and arrogant, as he has all right to be.
Right, I was that with the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm not ripping it. He's just been loud and arrogant about it. What's his second favorite quarterback, or what's the second quarterback he goes to bat for the hardest?
Lamar Jackson?
Think closer to the Texans division.
Anthony Richardson?
A prince who was promised, perhaps.
Trevor?
Oh, he's still on the Trevor Lawrence train.
I mean, I know at least he was.
To be honest, look, as a Bears fan,
I
think I'm out on Nick Wright. He's telling people the Bears are going to Super Bowl this year. Like,
he's been really on to Caleb Williams.
I can't take it seriously.
He's been
like,
really
as much as I believe, like I can't.
No, he's
even Rich Eisen, who said the same thing. Like, I can't do it.
Yeah, I don't know why anyone.
They're saying they're going to. They're not saying they're winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I don't know how anyone can take a look at what Caleb Williams did his last year at USC and thinks that is going to turn into his rookie season a Super Bowl. I don't know how you can do that. Again, I get everyone loves to buy into the hype of all these quarterbacks, but as somebody who has been doing this long enough to realize that most of these quarterbacks are probably not the guy, I think there is no reason to put yourself on an island with a rookie quarterback. It does work. I mean, if you are the guy who says, yes, this guy's the guy, the earliest, then you become that guy's guy, and then you can theoretically rise to national prominence.
If you maybe asked CJ Stroud about his winning mentality when he was 0-2 as an NFL player.
All right, so I got
Shrimpo Dana said that Paul would laugh the loudest at a CJ Stroud joke. Shh, stop it. Stop it. Stop spoiling my master plan.
You wouldn't even be able to hear his answer.
I'm the person who compared him to Tom Brady first, okay? But we're waiting. We're waiting until training camp too. We're still stretching.
Limbering
went to the
up.
gym earlier today. Yeah.
Locally, So locally, I got a long list.
You got a long list.
Really?
Who's going to zag on the
Is
Texans
it
first?
the
All
entire-
of 790.
Yeah, I was-
Yeah,
the entire
they all
790 lineup.
hate the Texans.
They hate him so much.
Like most of those guys have said like they'll never root for the Texans until Cal sells the team. And like
Which is crazy.
and like they're my
good
friends.
now.
Like I love Clanton, I love Matt. Like but like they've all are on the record with this.
I don't get
for
that.
like years.
I don't
about
get
how
that.
much they hate the McNair family.
I don't get that. I can understand a rivalry with the station that carries them and rooting against them helps you out, I guess. But I don't know. Surprisingly, despite my angry rage outbursts like all of yesterday's show, I feel like I am at my best when the teams are doing well because I can be happy. I don't want to go Dracarys Paul, House of the Dragons back on Sunday. I don't
Watched season
want
1 last night.
I don't want to be, blasting fire all the time. I want to be prancing around like a cocky little boy.
Except Wex. Good point. Here on the Twitch. And then see here we said the bees.
The question we're asking, by the way, who is going to be the first to zag on the Houston Texans, seeing as everyone is hyping them? Tyler Dunn has an article in his Go Long Substack about all the rat poison that they are currently trying to stay away from.
Okay, so Show that guy because he's a Chiefs fan for sure, but he doesn't count. Did you feel animosity when you left 610 towards the Texans?
No, actually, I didn't.
Because I was thinking, what about Locker? Like now that he's gone from 610,
Landry? I don't know about that.
that like now that he's gone from 610, he can
but
be a
he's
little
still
more
doing-
unleashed.
He's still doing Texans content.
I know, but now that he's not, on the flagship,
Yeah,
does he swing the other way?
This is a sports town where the negative content doesn't really generate the same kind of clicks as a Boston, as a New York, as a Philadelphia.
And you need you'd need the team to be good because, like you said, like if the Texans are bad, we saw it. We remember 2 years ago. The interest just falls off a cliff.
Hell, the interest goes away. In 2018, there was so much hype like this going into the year. Deshaun Watson coming off of the rookie season, and they had a bunch of players from the early 2010 teams, and then they lost the first 3 games of the year, and they won 9 games in a row, and no one cared. I was stunned by that. It sucked for me because I had just gotten moved to Morning Drive with a show that was not long for that world, as was I. Wasn't long for that station. Everything went downhill because of that 3-game losing streak to open the year. And I was mad about that.
Yeah.
Because they won 9 in a row, and truly no one cared. I remembered having conversations with Texans coaches, and they were like, "Why are people so mad at us? We have a 9-game winning streak."
It'll be the same thing this year.
It will happen to all the people that who are waiting for the other shoe to drop. It might. All I'm saying right now is like, you really have to have some serious chutzpah to be the one person on June 12th, 2024, zagging right now. There will be zaggers, for sure. But
August
right
12th,
now,
August 12th, there'll be some people.
Yeah.
But June 12th, right now, no, there isn't.
And these are like the same people who are like Davis Mills was going to win the CJ Stroud over the competition over CJ Stroud last year. That was like their opinions were probably
Dick Willie?
Yeah, Mills Mafia. Mills Mafia is going to be the first one
Yeah, Mills
out
Mafia
on
is the
on
one. Like
Texans.
anyone who's still in the Mafia, they believe the Texans will really fail this year. How much of our Twitchers were in the Mills Mafia?
I feel like it was just Dick Willie.
Okay, it was just Dick
It was
Willie.
just,
Okay.
pour one out. I
wasn't really. I wasn't part of the station when Mills Mafia was really a thing.
You weren't in the Twitch trenches when.
Yeah,
when
I mean, because I think most people last year were like, "Duh, CJ's gonna win the job," except for a small amount of people.